Hey guys, the Fire Brothers here. It's just me. My brother couldn't be here today because
Truth is,
I am him. Anyways, these are the jokes. I hope you guys are enjoying them. So, much like I promised, today I'm making a video on Transformers Reactivate. That game that got announced like all the way back in December last year, and we have been gotten anything, new from it since then. Well, we have gotten plenty of stuff that's new, but it has been leaked. I'm not kidding. This game has the Rise of the Beast treatment, in which the biggest and most shocking reveals comes from leaked sources and outdated info instead of, the company officially revealing stuff for us. Now, when the game first came out during the Game Awards, it was very shocking, not because of that weird moment where the kid congratulated Rabbi Biden, but mostly because no one in the Transformers community was expecting this to drop. Even I, who knew about the game and more or less, was told something for the game might be dropping that day, I did not believe it because I honestly believed that we were never gonna get this game. And that's because if you've been following my channel for a long time, you know that I talked about this game all the way in 2018. So yeah, needless to say, a lot of time has passed, and considering that this game took so long to make, it honestly wasn't looking good for me. I honestly had no hope for this showing up. So when this first showed up, I honestly did not believe it, and neither did the other Transformers YouTubers who were also watching the event. So in this video, I'm gonna explain to you the whole timeline of events when it first got announced, all the way to present day when we got the trailer, as well as some of the new updated leaks. So we got a lot to cover here. First, I'm gonna be talking about the game timeline, then I'm gonna be talking about story, gameplay, and stuff like that right after it, and as well as sharing some of the leaked screenshots that we had gotten for the game ever since then. If you just wanna be caught up with everything, just watch this video and you'll be completely filled in. Before we begin, I wanna give a small shout out to Transformers Reactivate updates. It's basically a Twitter account that posts updates on anything that's new for Transformers Reactivate, whether it be leaks or new screenshots or rumors and stuff like that. They got it all. They were the ones who linked to me this Google document, which basically has all the information for the game in chronological order. And if you guys want to read this yourselves, I'm going to link it in the description down below. And also shout out to the creator of this document, Nem, that's his Discord name. He made this document, and thanks to him, we have all this to catch up. So anyways, we have a long way to go, starting with the timeline. 2017, October 15. Reactivate Technologies enters into an agreement to invest 10 million into Certain Affinity to start work on a new Transformers game. 15 days later, the deal is completed, and Certain Affinity gets to work. Now keep in mind that Certain Affinity at this point is our developer for this game. They're the ones making this game. Keep that in mind because it's gonna change very, very quickly. In their 2017 annual report, we actually got confirmation of this, where it was basically stated that Certain Affinity is gonna, be making games based on intellectual property. Back then, the name of the game was actually called Transformers Online, which it's kind of confusing because we also had another game called Transformers Online, but it was Chinese exclusive only. Don't worry, I'll talk about that game someday because it's a very interesting story behind that game, but it's not for this topic. But keep in mind that before Reactivate was a thing, Online was the name of the game. Then we move forward all the way to 2018. On August 24, Ventura Beat interviewed Max Hoberman, CEO of Certain Affinity. In this interview, he mentions that they're still working on the Transformers game. And I think this is also generally around the time where people found out that this was gonna be a game we were gonna get. We then cut to 2019. On January 7, the loan from Reactivate Technologies was increased from 15 million to 33 million to further develop this game. Now that may sound like a lot, but keep in mind that your average AAA release game costs around 80 million or higher. So it's almost halfway there. As far as we know, and remember that by this point, Certain Affinity is also not exactly a big studio. So the budget for it does make sense, at least at this point. Also keep in mind that budget doesn't mean everything. There's plenty of AAA games with huge budgets and they end up being completely abominations. Just look at Forspoken. And while I couldn't really find anything for how much budget Fall Saboteur and War for Saboteur had in development, my guess is that they were relatively cheap games to make, and they were still pretty great games. On January 30, 2019, an article from GameBiz list that talked about Certain Affinity's new Toronto studio mentioned that the Transformers project is still in development. On July 25th, username Bumblebee on the TFW 2005 website finds several job listings that could possibly be for the Transformers game. These ones are encounter designers, mission designers, senior narrative designers, senior system designers, and online engineer. On August 3rd, Liyue Technologies publicly announced the game at the China Joy 2019 convention. They confirmed that the game will be free to play and released on PC and consoles. Now, look, I know how some people feel about free to play stuff, when it comes to that kind of, business model. I implore you to save your judgment till at least we're done with the timeline, because things are gonna get twisted, let's just say that. On August 22nd, Max Huberman is asked whether Transformers Online will be China exclusive. He said that nothing Certain Affinity is currently working on is China exclusive or focused on China specifically. On September 17, another CAA employee mentioned a project that we're working on that was going to be announced soon. And this was around the time where the people at Certain Affinity were really hyping up something big and really, making it suspicious that they were working on a Transformers title without saying it out loud. But the most telling piece of evidence was found on September 24, where a follow Cybertron Optimus Prime figure was spotted on a CA employee's desk. And this pretty much, set us a nail in the coffin for a lot of speculation. Everyone already, kind of agreed that, yeah, they're working on the Transformers game. They're not allowed to say that because NDA and stuff like that, but they are, in fact, working on it. And now we move on to 2020. On May 10, username Jungle Penguins from TFW 2005 website found a resume from a Certain Affinity employee calling the game Transformers Impact. And this is the point where Transformers Online kind of gets renamed to Transformers Impact, which I'm kind of glad they didn't go for that name because it sounds way too similar to Genshin Impact. More on that later. On July 6, Liyue put a further 10 million into Certain Affinity. The loan documents state that the game's development was going well and that the open beta for the game was approximately 70% done. The increase in funding was to give CA the resources needed to finish and release the open beta. Now, if you're keeping track, that basically means that this game has a budget, or had a budget, of around $43 million, which is halfway from your typical standard AAA release. And I know I'm jumping ahead a little, but it's highly suspected that some of the screenshots you're seeing on the screen right now are actually some of like the open beta stuff that they were working on. We don't exactly have 100% confirmation, and I go on to talk more about these screenshots later. But keep in mind that by this point, game is nearing completion. Well, at least the beta, it's still pretty rough around the edges, but it's typical for games like that. On August 21st, username Bumblebee on the TFW website found another job listing for Certain Affinity. That of a development director for a free-to-play game and managing successful open beta launch. So by this point, the game is gearing up to be released, right? Now you're probably wondering, but Fire, if the game was so close to having its open beta on 2020, why do we still don't have it on 2022? Well, here's where things get interesting. On August 22nd, Liyue released their 2020 interim results, which states that they have brought in splash damage to assist with development. An exact date for splash damage being brought to the project is unknown, but it seems to have been in the range of July-August 2020. On August 27, Tencent proposes an argument to acquire Liyue Technologies into their fold. Now, if you don't know what Tencent is, it's basically like this giant Chinese company that, long story short, if you want to get any of your games to China, it needs to be through those guys. It's a very political practice that kind of harms some games. Overwatch is probably a very famous example of this. I'm not going to talk too much about it because honestly we could be here all day talking about Tencent games, but here's where everything sort of evolves, I guess. On November 25th, the license agreement between Hasbro and Liyue was released, featuring a slideshow presentation of Transformers Impact, which was presumably pitched for the game. The license agreement also mentioned that the new deadline for the open beta was October 2021. Now, this slideshow is something that you guys might be familiar with, especially if you watch my videos. I think I covered this on one of my videos years ago. And it's basically like an early pitch for like how Transformers Impact, which was, the name Reactivate had at the time, was gonna play out. All of the stuff on the screen you're seeing is, of course, taken just straight from the internet. I don't think any of it is original, with the exception of maybe the first slide. And he basically just talks about how, they're gonna, it's gonna be a game where you can recruit Transformers characters, You can play as them, transform, it's gonna be live service, the audience they're gonna be aiming for, they're gonna make it like Warframe and Destiny, and a bunch of other stuff we don't exactly need to mention right now. After that, on December 23rd, 2022, the deal between Tencent and Liu is finalized, and Liu is bought out. And then we move on to 2021. On August 8th, the name Transformers Rise is discovered to be included in the description of a podcast episode with a certain Affinity employer, developer, and a Chinese Lincoln Inn is discovered at the same time, which also has this name. It's very likely that by this point, Transformers Impact got, pushed back to coincide with the release of Rise of the Beast, so the entire game was renamed from Impact to Rise. I think I also made a video on that. On August 10th, for a brief time, the domain of TransformersRise.com is registered to a Chinese company believed to be Liu Technologies. And 15 days later, it was revealed that after the Tencent buyout, Liu faced a mass exodus, including the CEO. Some employees also accused Liu of purchasing several IPs with zero intentions of releasing complete games, and just wanted them to dress itself up for a sale. This is around the time where, when I make my video, I even mentioned this, that it looked like the only reason they renamed the game to Transformers Rise is because they wanted to coincide with Transformers Rise of the Beast, and they wanted to get all these popular IPs, so they look more appealing. So the head honchos can just sell the company to someone else, make a big buff, and just run off with the money. And it was really looking like that, so a lot of people got really discouraged. And that's actually the thing that made me stop covering this game, because it really looked like a sham. On 2022, October 17, username Bumblebee, who's becoming a very popular figure in the Transformers Reactivate rabbit hole, posted a compilation of findings from various people on the Rise Discord regarding the game. There was a Discord for Transformers Rise. I got invited into that like, I think around 2021. I decided not to join because that was around the time we heard that, everything was kind of a sham and the game might not even come out, period. So I really lost interest and I didn't want to get my hopes up, so I just decided to decline. So shout out to all the people out there who actually never lost faith when everyone else did. Credit for these images comes from that one rep guy on Discord. Yeah, I actually talked to him a couple of times. He seems like a cool guy. Most of these are just, job listings, stuff like that, basically implying that these individuals are working on a big game for certain Affinity, and we also have a first Transformers Reactivate model. At least, I think this is the first, model that got leaked ever. Not gonna lie, this kind of guy reminds me of Legacy Skits. It could just be some random nobody. We might not even see him in the actual game. You'll see why. But on October 19, Luna, who's another popular Transformers Reactivate YouTuber who leaks a bunch of stuff from time to time, I do recommend checking his channel out and following him for Reactivate updates. He, alongside some other people, which I'm gonna mention in a bit, are probably our primary sources for Reactivate content. On October 19, Luna posted a tweet that we didn't know at the time just yet, but he was teasing the leaked cutscenes from an early version of Transformers Reactivate. On November 4th, Luna posted a video talking about he's seen the cutscenes and talks about what he saw in them. He also talks about a link in for an employee at Digital Domain, the same company who did the CGI trailers for Follow Cybertron, who has a Transformers game commercial for Certain Affinity listed as one of his projects. On November 5th to 10th, following a vote in Luna's Discord, Luna decided that he will release the cutscenes and posted a bunch of cryptic teasers during this time span.
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
And on November 11, Luna posted 2 cutscenes, one featuring Starscream and the other featuring Ratchet. He also put a watermark all over it, which, I understand he wants credit, but at the same time it's kinda cringe. Small tangent, and Luna, if you're watching this, no offense, but that's like when me and Rise of the Beast Trader on Twitter basically found the NFL Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal animation, and instead of, us just releasing it to the public for everyone to see, we just watermark all over it, and I'm like, yeah, I found this Fire Brothers property, pay up, loser. I'm sure he didn't mean it like that, but it just comes off as scummy. It's just my personal take. On November 12th, Max Hooverman, the CEO of Certain Affinity, allegedly followed Luna on Twitter for roughly an hour. Kind of, giving a subtle wink wink, nudge nudge, hey, yeah, you got it right, this is the real thing, but I can't say because I'm gonna get fired. From November 12th to 13, Luna also posted a series of small images of the game's UI. By this point, the fandom really, and I mean really, started to believe the Transformers Impact or Rise, whatever you want to call it by this point, was going to happen. And the leaks were starting to get a bit out of control. So on November 13th, the first takedown started happening on Twitter. And Megatron's design is also posted by Luna. This is how he's gonna look like. I'm pretty sure I'm safe to post this, because you can just find all of this on YouTube, and those videos are still up to this day. So, I don't think this video is gonna get taken down, but if it does, you're a dick for that. On November 14th, the initial source of the cutscenes is discovered to be on a developer's website. The source being the lead narrative designer, which one will be posted about on October 17th. So that was interesting. But this does seem to be the source, because as soon as this became public knowledge, the cutscenes and Megatron's render were removed from the website. However, something interesting happened not too long after that. A script of the first cutscene with some minor differences was found. Some of these differences from the cutscene is that the enemies of the game were called the Rasp and the Legion. After that, the person who made this document found a piece of art for the character of Delvin, who is mentioned in both the script and the Ratchet cutscenes. On November 15, Luna's video discussing the script was taken down by Hasbro. On November 17, the author managed to get in contact with the lead narrative designer. However, he requested that the conversation remain private, which our author graciously respected his wishes. He could not say much about the game due to the NDA, but the tone of his message felt to the author as if he was implying that the game got cancelled. This is partly true, and you guys will see why. On November 19, in now deleted video, Luna discussed several weapon names and types, including both firearms and melee weapons. On November 20, RoboGamer, which is another guy who covers Transformers Reactivate content, I highly recommend you guys follow him. Robo revealed in a now deleted video that Splash Damage and Digital Extremes have taken over the project, and that Certain Affinity was no longer working on it, which explains previous discrepancies and rumors of cancellation. After this revelation, the community went back to LinkedIn and found several Splash Damage developers that were possibly working on the project. So yeah, it turns out that Certain Affinity was completely out of the project by this point, and the reason why the message that our author got from one of the developers sounded so pessimistic is because, the game got cancelled, but for Certain Affinity, it's now being handled by another company. So you see, the rumors were true from a certain point of view. On November 23rd, since the Splash Damage reveal, the author had been conducting research and linking developers for each project. He linked 17 developers together who had been working on an unannounced project, most of whom joined the company in August 2020, which seems to be around the time the project was taken over. Some of these developers had connections to the lead VFX artist and had joined the company after his previous projects, meaning the only thing they will work on together with him will be this looter shooter, which as of right now that seems to be the game genre that Transformers Reactivate will be based on. There is also this production director whose description matches the 100+ developer size of quote-unquote Fortress, and repeatedly mentions live service gameplay. This director is directly linked to this person who worked for Athlon Games, the Western publishing arm of Liu prior to the Tencent buyout, so there's even more connections. Athlon was merged into Splash Damage following the Tencent buyout, and the LinkedIn mentions the game. As for Digital Extremes, there has been no concrete link to the project. However, if they're working on the game, they seem to be working on it with their external projects division, meaning that they probably have a minimal, impact on the game. So was that complicated? Probably so, but all you need to know is that the game has been switching hands ever since 2019, 2020, and now we are finally at Splash Damage, our current developers. On November 25th, the author of this document talked to Robo that he received character renders for his source, and for a couple of minutes, he changed his profile picture to Optimus Prime as proof. On November 29th, a resume was found from April 2022 from a motion capture actress who was doing mocap for a Transformers game from Splash Damage. We also found an older version of the resume from March 2022, which didn't have Transformers on it, which narrows down the time period in which her work on Transformers happened. The character in question was Andrea Fairborn. On December 2nd, Robo posted a new video revealing several designs and announcing his collaboration with Luna. The in-game map is also teased at the end with a distorted image of it being shown along with the coordinates for New York at the end of the video, which is highlighted on the map. You've probably already seen these images, they've been floating around the web quite a bit. I'm not going to talk about them just yet, but these are more so how we think Bumblebee, Megatron, and Optimus will look like in the game. And on December 2nd, Luna posted a full resolution of the world map. that Transformers Reactivate will have. And also on December 5th, the resume containing the quote-unquote fortress name for the game is changed to no longer mention it, but whatever the game's fortress is still in development. So just so you know, I kind of skimmed through it, but Fortress was also another working title for Transformers Reactivate. So just so you know, so far we had Transformers Online, then Transformers Impact, then Transformers Rise, and Transformers Fortress, all the way to Transformers Reactivate. Yeah, like I said, quite a rabbit hole. And which leads us to the big event. December 8th, the game is announced at the Game Awards under the new title of Transformers Reactivate. And only a day later, it's pretty much confirmed by looking through some of the employees' LinkedIn that Fortress has been one of the code names for Transformers. On December 13th, the game is confirmed to be in Unreal Engine 4, with the trailer having been made in Unreal Engine 5. Hey guys, just a little correction. It has been since confirmed that Transformers Reactivate will actually be made in the Unreal 5 engine. And if you know anything about that, then this game is gonna look phenomenal in Unreal Engine 5. Well, let's hope it does, you know? We still haven't seen anything about the game in terms of gameplay and stuff, at least concrete modern gameplay, so only time will tell. On December 17, Robo posted a new video discussing some of the story details and revealing brand new in-game screenshots. A Twitter account by the name of Transformers Reactivate News posted a never before seen screenshot showing the character roster. This image is also dated October 2018, so this is pretty, and I mean really early on in development. So there's a high likely chance that the characters here won't even look like this in the final game, or even that this whole roster is gonna be kept for the final release of the game. On December 21st, Luna posted a new slew of screenshots from when Certain Affinity was still working on the game. And the next day, on the 22nd, he posted a slew of weapons from when Certain Affinity were working on the game. So, I just want to say, all of these images come from early versions of the game, meaning that the game is probably not gonna look like this. This is from like way early in development. So for those of you who say that the game kinda looks bad, or like, you know, it looks kinda bad right now or something like that, this is like ridiculously early on in development. This is what Certain Affinity did. Splash Damage, as of right now, is still working on the game. On January 22nd this year, the Transformers Reactivate News Twitter account actually posted a bunch of screenshots of some weapons. This include the Gravity Maul, the Energon Gauntlets, Magnetic Grenade Launcher, and Metal Storm, the Scorcher, and the Shock Carbine. And on March 16, which I made a video on, we got confirmation thanks to GT Prime 17 over on the TFW Testify website that Transformers Reactivate will in fact be getting figures released this year on October, which are meant to hit shelves on October this year. That meaning that the game might actually come out this year. Also, I kind of skimmed through this, but the whole duration of this year, ever since the first trailer came out, we have gotten small updates from, you know, the Transformers Reactivate team, you know, just gotten, new looks at their office and some Transformers, posters and stuff appearing in their HQs. We even got a little, like, job listings for, employees, developers and stuff like that. Which to me seems to indicate that the game is still being worked on even now. And that's kind of where we are right now with Transformers Reactivate as of the point of this recording. Now that was a very, very long timeline of events, but the fun has just begun. Now we're gonna be talking about the story of Transformers Reactivate, because well, the game is still being worked on, and things are subject to change. We have plenty of leaks that, thanks to the trailer, got confirmed to be true, or at least true at one point. Remember, this game has been switching hands very, very often, and the game along with it. Now, the following plot synopsis is a combination of information provided by both RoboGamer and Luna. As such, some of it may be inaccurate, and as everything with the document is subject to change upon release. According to our most credible sources, the game will start out with you playing as an overpowered version of Optimus Prime before everything hits the fan. Afterwards, a weapon is unleashed upon the Earth which acts as an EMP, which takes most Transformers offline, and humanity is almost extinct at the start of the game. At the beginning, it looks like you're gonna be given an option of 3 Transformers to pick. Yes, pretty much like Pokemon, you get to choose your own starter. We know that one of them is Bumblebee, but no information on the other 2 just yet. But if the cutscenes are anything to go by, it might either be Starscream, Soundwave, Shockwave, Slipstream, Ratchet, or Ironhide. A small group of human resistance members find Bumblebee and manage to repair him. Bumblebee helps them on the first few missions of the game. During these missions, Bumblebee encounters the Decepticons who are either still offline due to the EMP, or unable to fight. These Decepticons are taken in and repaired by Bumblebee and the human resistance. The Autobots and Decepticons decide to join sides in order to fight against their common enemy. The main force the Autobots and Decepticons are fighting against in the game is a nanomachine virus that can infect machines and use them to do its bidding. We actually see a bit of this in the trailer where, you know, we see all of like this swarm-like imagery coming off through buildings and stuff, which acts as some sort of like pseudo-zombie virus. Over the course of the game, you will discover that the virus is more of a techno-organic species that had invaded Earth, which conveniently enough, when we see like the enemies in the trailer, you can see that they have, you know, organic qualities to them, which are under the direct control of the main villains of the game, the Quintessence, who are the Quintessons, who intend to terraform the Earth and make it their new base of operations. The enemies of the game were originally called Twisted, but honestly we still don't exactly know the name of the enemy race, since here are a bunch of names from Twisted to Swarm to Legion, so it's hard to tell which one's which at the moment. Which, as premises go, that's actually really cool. I really do like the idea of the Quintessons, the main bad guys of this game, because like, to me, the Quintessons were always kind of ignored, and I'll be honest, I never really liked them that much. I never found them threatening. But if they managed to create a race of nanomachine, techno-organic super soldiers that are able to basically, you know, rout humanity almost to extinction and like knock out the Autobots and Decepticons, that makes them really threatening. I think that's a really cool concept for villains, and the whole Autobot versus Decepticon thing is a bit overplayed, so I'm actually all for this, in all honesty. Of course, you know, it all depends on the execution, but for the sounds of it, to me, it sounds really cool. But yeah, now we're gonna move on to the gameplay. Now, most of our info about the gameplay kind of comes from Luna, so I recommend, you know, checking out his channel, subscribing, and doing all that stuff. But if you want a very brief summary of it, the gameplay of it is essentially just like Warframe. I never played Warframe, so I don't know. I never played Warframe, so I don't know much about it or have an idea how this gameplay is gonna play out. I heard good things from it, so at least that's a good sign. The core game loop's gonna be you basically destroying enemies with canon Transformers characters of your choice as you collect loot and progress through the game in the form of resources, weapons, and mods. Your focus is to become more and more powerful by upgrading and customizing your Transformers with mods and obtaining newer, more powerful weapons. You'll have the ability to unlock new Transformers. You will need 3 main components in order to unlock a new Transformers. First is the Transformers Blueprint. They will need tech specs, which can be found during missions, as well as crafting resources, which can be found in chests, enemy drops, and end of mission rewards. Then once you have gathered these, you can pay premium currency to rush the crafting or outright purchase a new Transformer without any grinding in-game store with premium currency. And premium currency, it pretty much means, you know, if you play anything like Genshin Impact, Fragrant Order, you know how there's like currency you need to pay with real money to, you know, buy some stuff from the game. I think that's why it means buy it. Now keep in mind that this is all subject to change, but considering that the game is free to play and they need to monetize the game in some way, this seems to be, you know, the direction the game's going for, which, you know, it is free to play, you can play for free, but, you know, if you want to buy more characters or skins or stuff like that, you know, you can always throw in that extra $1. As long as it's just cosmetic and it doesn't affect the gameplay, I'm completely fine with it. It is annoying, and I know a lot of people don't like those types of games that much. I play some of them like Genshin Impact. I don't mind it as much since the game's free, but at the same time it's like, if it gets super predatory, then that would be really bad. I'm hopeful that splash damage won't go that route though. Now, as for game progression, you will gain XP by killing enemies and completing missions. This XP will increase your Transformers level, granting minor stat increases and access to certain weapons and certain abilities you did not have before. You upgrade your Transformers with the linked in mechanic, which increases your upgrade rank. This will grant a new mod slot and a new specialization slot on alternate levels. You will need to be level 30 in order to stop upgrading. You'll be able to add mods and attachments to your Transformers robot mode or even vehicle form. Certain mods can only be put on certain slots, such as a turret mod only being allowed to be put on a turret slot. Mods are also depending on the type of Transformers you're using. As for specializations, the specializations are unique passive bonuses that are linked to your Transformers type. These bonuses are bigger than mods and should have a larger effect on how your Transformer performs and plays like. The specializations are locked to the specific Transformer, but can be put onto any of their specialization slots, which are unlocked by increasing their upgrade rank. Once a specialization is put onto your Transformer, it is locked onto it. However, there is an item that can be crafted and or purchased to reset a specialization. Now, something else I need to mention is that the game is basically a looter shooter. So for those of you who play Destiny, I just want to say right now, there is no shared loot between players and you will never be shown your full loot drops until you complete the mission. Resources will be obtained in chests over the course of the mission and dropped by defeated enemies. There is no end of mission chest like in Destiny. And also cosmetics are gonna be a thing in this game because, you know, free to play. Some cosmetics will be purchased in the in-game store and some will be in the battle pass of the season, which that annoys me so much. I hate battle passes. It's such an annoying thing. I really don't like it. It's not as bad as Suicide Squad, which, you know, you need to pay for the game and then pay for the battle pass, but it is annoying to hear though. Cosmetics will include things such as color swaps, weapons, and Transformers attachments. Skins for Transformers and weapons, gestures, emotes, emojis, emissives, lights, car horns, voiceover packs. Which, that last one is actually pretty cool. And guild specific items like decoration for a guild's hangar. There will be plenty of zones in the game. You already seen the map, which as far as we know includes New York, Chicago, and I think Detroit too. Basically, you go to each zone and you can have a maximum party of 4. You can do plenty of story missions in those places or even non-story missions. There's obviously going to be side quests, much like in Destiny and other games of the like. As far as we know so far, there's only 4 game modes planned for the game. Elite, Patrol, Spearhead, and Stronghold. Elite is an endgame game mode, in which is basically an endless battle mission where you try to progress as far as you can in the level using a selection of Transformers. When you die as one Transformer, you respawn as the next one you select. You require tickets to enter Elite, and these can be obtained by leveling your account level and by a special quest. This gives the player an infinite way to test their power, and item rewards scale with how far you get, and there are mutations and complications that can occur. It has a leaderboard that it resets on a weekly basis. Patrol is a mid-game game mode where you are directed to a specific mission on the map, where a different objective will spawn, such as scoring a VIP. This game mode allows players to join mid-match unlike Elite. Enemies will have special mutations during these missions to provide variety from regular story missions. Objectives will continue to spawn until all players have left the match. Completing more objectives will grant more rewards, some of which include tech specs, weapons, consumables, and more weapons. Spearhead is another endgame game mode, which basically asks you to track down a Transformer and or weaponry, and it will lead you down a path of activities that will get you various weapons, mods, tech specs, and like. Again, this is a looter shooter. You will be able to get these quests until you have completed the objective, for instance, fully unlocking the Transformer you were hunting. And finally, we have Strongholds. Strongholds are a piece of the map where enemies have taken over the area. They are a type of mission which unlocks halfway through a season. This will be used as a re-engagement mechanic from when a season starts waning halfway through. There will be 1 stronghold per zone. The enemies found in the stronghold will be max level, and at the power cap of the current season, there are main combat areas where all players will have to fight a certain amount of waves to retake the stronghold. During these strongholds, there's also a chance that you might be able to fight what's referred to as a quote-unquote a mega boss in these missions. This game will also have seasons. You know, each season will correspond to seasonal events of the calendar such as Halloween, Christmas, and stuff like that. Each season will bring new content such as new zones and new Transformers. There's gonna be guilds in the game. You know, you can form your own guild or faction. And you know, just so you know guys, when this game starts, my guild is gonna be the Church of Sideways. So all of you loyal Sideways worshippers who wanna join me and my brothers on a righteous conquest of taking over this game, remember to join the Church of Sideways. But we don't just accept anyone. We want the elite of the elite joining our guild. And finally, the game will also have an in-game store in which you can purchase other Transformers, skins, some boosts, and other such items. It will have somewhat of a curated experience that will provide offers for bundles that relate to your current status in the game. Which, that's kinda cool, but like, again, I'm not a fan of XP boosters and stuff like that. And I think it's about time I jump into my personal thoughts on this game, now that I finished going over the entire document. So, overall, how do you feel about Transformers Reactivate? Must be the question going through your minds right now after watching this long video. And, well, I'm pretty neutral about it. Like, some people are saying it's gonna be really bad, but I don't think so. In all honesty, it just looks even more competent than Rise of the Darkspark, although that's not saying much. And most of the screenshots we've seen and everything else, it's kinda, well, old news. It's honestly very hard to say if any of these, you know, concepts from 2018 are gonna carry over to the most updated version of the game. And while I really do like the character models so far, at least Optimus, Megatron, and Bumblebee's robot mode is not that good, but his vehicle mode is really good. And what little we saw of everyone else is also very good. So far, in terms of character design, this game has it nailed pretty good. I actually really do like the concept of the Quintessons being the main villains and Autobots and Decepticons having to team up. Now, I'm not a big fan of like the whole Destiny way they're going on about this, in which, you know, you can only have 4 people per mission, and there not being any PvP, which, you know, I mean, granted, games like this, like the Destiny types, don't really excel at PvP, but it's still nice to have, you know. It's nice to just, you know, be able to play against other players, and if they don't have PvP by the release of the game, and when I mean PvP, I mean player versus player, I don't mean Prime versus Prime, because I know there's gonna be that 1% of you who don't know what PvP means. What I see being the most critical point made against the game is that it's free to play, and that might lead to some predatory, you know, microtransactions. Which, you know, granted, I completely agree, I don't like those either, and I don't like when games just shove them there because, you know? Games like Anthem, Forspoken, and the such fail because, you know, they all try to be an RPG when you don't really need to be an RPG. Wolf vs. Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron were so great because they knew what they were and they didn't try to be anything else but that. I hope that Transformers Reactivate knows what it wants to be. It's fun if you want to be a Warframe, it's fun if you want to be a Destiny, just make it good. The thing that kind of scares me is the whole seasonal content type of thing. Now, Destiny's been doing this seasonal content, and I don't play Destiny anymore. I stopped playing after Vanilla Destiny because next DLCs were so horrible, I just didn't even want to touch it. And I view Destiny as an abusive relationship in which, you know, yeah, they do seasonal content in which, you know, every month there's like a new story, like a new story update, but you do it, you grind, and that's it. There's not much else to go about it, you know. Destiny feels like an abusive relationship, and I hope that Reactivate doesn't turn into that as well. Now, granted, look, maybe Reactivate will surprise us, maybe it will be like a very good game, which I hope it is, and people who are following the game seem very confident it will be. In fact, one of the latest updates is that Reactivate is actually being done in Unreal Engine 5, so the graphics are gonna look a whole lot better than these screenshots that you're seeing on the screen right now. Most of the ones I showed are very early in development. If anything, this is gonna look more like, you know, one of our more standard AAA modern games visually. Which I hope that's the case, because I really want this game to look as good as possible. In fact, during the middle of this recording, I just went to my local GameStop and got myself a PS5 for Squeaker. Yeah, this little fun tidbit I thought you guys might want to know. All I want for Reactivate is 4 things. A, I don't want predatory microtransactions. If you want to keep them as cosmetic, that's fine. B, satisfying gameplay. I want this gameplay to be fun and addicting. C, I want a good story. Fall of Cybertron and War for Cybertron told a very good engaging story, and I think Reactivate could do this thing. I think the whole story potential when it comes to the setting, the plot, and the enemies is actually super unique for Transformers. I really want to see it. And 4, add sideways into the game. That will make this game automatically the best game ever. Because listen, out of all the other Transformers games we ever had, none of them ever had sideways in it, you know? So if you add like the instant most beloved, fan requested, popular character into the game, your game already wins all the points. You know, the people behind the game are actually paying attention to what we do in the community. There's a reason why Luna got striked so much, okay? They're probably gonna watch this video, and if you're watching this guy right here, add him into the game. Like, do that, and I instantly buy this game, and I'll become the biggest simp for it. Those are my requirements: splash damage, make it happen. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. You're now officially all caught up with Transformers Reactivate, everything we know about the games for its development in 2018 up till now with Reactivate and splash damage. You're all officially caught up, and you're welcome. But yeah, I actually want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of Transformers Reactivate? Will it deliver? Will it be bad? Will it be good? What are your thoughts on it so far? So far, I think it's promising. It has promise. We just need to wait and see. And look, worst case scenario, you're getting a free game, so it's not that bad. It doesn't even hurt to give it a try. I might make a follow-up video talking about the characters I want to see in Reactivate and what skins you could add to them. Because right now, since we're getting a lot of Reactivate news, I want to, you know, double down on the game. Because honestly, I'm a bit sick and tired of talking about Rise of the Beast so much while I work on some other, you know, non-Rise of the Beast content in the background. But in case you guys are curious, these are the characters I would like to see added into Reactivate. Honestly, a pretty solid list, and I think we can all agree that most of these guys will be a really cool pick. The splash damage, please pay homage to the defunct Transformers Universe game. I beg of you, it has some of the best designs in all the franchise. So yeah, that's it for this video. So always guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all the annoying YouTuber stuff that the algorithm likes. and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Stay safe, guys. Anyways, guys, before we go, shout out to our super high IQ Patreons: Predator King Hunter Plays, Scrub Lordo, Omega Tryon 2006, Stitch Productions, Xavier the God, Anders Gears, finally he changed his name, Optination Review, James Newbold, DJ Universe, Tristan Curry, Still, Spark Studio, Super Sailor Formers Hedgehog, Cuber Knight Gaming, and oh my god, Rich Cracker 64 Studios Productions, Crazy Treks, and King Sparta. And our two newest Patreons, Legend of Swoop and the Autobot Side of J. And an even bigger shout out to our even bigger Patreons, Jordan the Great and X23, who donated a amount of money. I'll leave you guys to figure out how much. And if you guys want to shout out yourself, all you gotta do is donate to my Patreon. By donating to my Patreon, you get quite a few rewards. You get access to some exclusive artwork that I'm working on, catch some early access at some betas that are not public yet, request your own videos, or even do collabs with me. In some cases, you can even request some artwork if I'm not busy enough. Constantly updating the Patreon with content that I haven't made public yet, so if you want more awesome content like Wasted Potential, Power Level series, Kill Count series, that kind of stuff, Patreon is the best place to catch a glimpse at my work. But keep in mind that it's entirely optional, because freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Thank you to all my patrons for donating, it's much appreciated. A lot of them have channels of their own, Twitter accounts, Discord pages. Make sure to go check out their links and give them some support. They can use all the help they can get. Thank you guys for donating, it's much appreciated. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Stay safe, guys.